everyone, and today we're here to have a discussion on what it's like to be a dairy farmer. Today, our special guest for our speaker series is Mike Oosten. He's a dairy farmer at Marvo Holsteins and one of the most innovative dairymen that we know. Welcome, Mike, and thank you for coming to talk with us today. We appreciate it.
No, thank you, Alika. Appreciate the opportunity.
So I guess the first question, just to start off, where's your dairy located and how long have you been in the dairy industry?
Sure. No, thank you for asking. No, I'm a third generation dairy farmer. My grandfather started in the Long Beach area, known as, Cerritos, originally back in 1945. And from there, we moved to the Chino, Ontario area, where they were until we built our current location here in 1988. So that we're going on basically 33 years here. So so it doesn't seem like that long sometimes, but I grew up here, so it's been a fun journey. And so started with one dairy milking about 1,500. Right now we're at two dairies milking about 2,500. And didn't start out farming. My grandparents and dad never really did much in the way of row crop farming, but got into that. Now I'm farming about a little under 1,500 acres of alfalfa, wheat, corn, and just primarily dairy forage and stuff. So
very cool.
That's
for sharing.
Good.
Cool. That kind of pretty much answered the question I was going to ask you. But could you talk a little bit more? How are you going to get more involved in the dairy industry? I know you're on a couple boards and stuff like that. Could you share a little bit about that?
That's right. Yeah. So currently I serve on the National Dairy Board, which is part of the checkoff system through the USDA, chartered by Congress. So I got appointed by that through Sunny Purdue, I guess about 3 years ago now. So yeah, I've been enjoying that, learning the ins and outs of the checkoff and advertising. Just kind of, it's basically dairy promotion, dairy products, also encouraging exports internationally. So it's really broadened its scope, where it was kind of just focused on television ads, and it's really grown into nutrition research and child nutrition especially. And then also now it's brought in with USDA the last 10 years into international and trying to move dairy products internationally as well. So it's kind of another arm of it as well. So I just sit on the National Dairy Board, and we basically advise on decisions and come up with some new ideas. We have bi-monthly board meetings, and just kind of bounce ideas off each other, kind of go over different things that are going on in the industry. For example, like last year when COVID hit, we had a plan, and the plan kind of got scrapped. And being that there was no NFL, no need for fuel up to place 60 in the sense of a personal sense, but then they geared up to figure out how to get food to people in need. So trying to processors were stuck with product that they couldn't sell, and there's people that couldn't get access to food in the grocery store. So they were trying to get involved and connect all those dots, and they were able to get a lot of just different food service vendors to be able to deliver food to food banks and to get that to where food needed to be where it was needed at the time. So that was pretty interesting. So last year was definitely an interesting year, just kind of a one-off, but at least we hope it's a one-off. And so yeah, it's kind of can go into a lot of different things. And the only thing we don't get into any politics or policy. It's totally nonpartisan at all. But yeah, just do all facets of the dairy industry, from animal, even care a little bit, just kind of like taking a stance on what the consumer and how they view the dairy industry. So look a little bit into that sort of policy, but other than that, it's pretty much just all research and promotion. So.
Gotcha.
And then another board I sit on is Milk Producers Council, and that is policy and more milk pricing, and then also political as well. So we'll make political contributions there to candidates that are pro dairy and that are supportive of agriculture as a whole, and to policies that are going to allow us to grow and innovate into the future. So but those are the two boards that I sit on. I'm also a delegate with Land O'Lakes, just a reserve delegate, so I'm just kind of the backup guy. But but also a little bit involved with a co-op as well, just with some minor local stuff. But other than that, those are the three things that I'm primarily involved on. So.
Gotcha. Nice.
Very cool.
A lot of stuff going on.
So what are your thoughts on implementing robots onto your dairy?
So I'm definitely a big proponent of automation. However, it may come, whether it's economies of scale, but also definitely I think robots are going to be imperative in the future. Just labor challenges and just but I also think it could be a big opportunity, really, just with consistency with the animals. Animals they're such a creature of habit that if you can do something the same every day, sounds the same, looks the same, smells the same, has the same pace and the same touch and feel with the animal, I just feel like that's going to be also another big advantage, just beyond the labor standpoint. We all know labor is always a challenge. Finding good qualified people that are responsible is always going to be a challenge. It always has been, and will continue to be. So wherever we can use automation in the future, I mean, that's going to just I think add to the consistency of the product and also to the animal care. I think there's going to be some good benefits for the animals in the future by just having that consistency of contact every time. And then just I think there will also be probably as technology progresses, just like smartphones and all that other stuff, robots have already become more cost effective too. I think that was a big barrier many years ago, was having the correct sensors and the lasers and all those things that are allowing that machine to do its job. All of those necessary innovations are all starting to come together, and I think that's what you guys are doing, is trying to grab those different pieces of technology and get them put into a system that's gonna deliver what farmers are looking for. And again, the biggest thing is less labor and consistency with the animals, I think, is probably the two biggest main points with it. Definitely a lot of offshoots there as well, but those are probably the big take homes.
How could you foresee our technology affecting the lives of cows and the life of farmers?
Well, it just gives you more time to do other tasks, right? So, when you're having to deal with people, you're having to manage and follow up with them pretty consistently, because if they're not getting followed up on, as they say, when the cat's away, the mice play sometimes. So freeing up some management time would definitely be a big benefit. And then again, hopefully there's some cost savings too, by just having that just better precision, with the delivery of whether it's a vaccine or whatever the medication is. Just having that peace of mind is also a good thing. So
yeah. And in your opinion, why hasn't this process already been automated?
Well, it goes back to just putting all those different innovations and technology together. It really just comes down to that. The reason why it hasn't happened is just technologies were progressing so rapidly, and I think just probably cost was a big factor, right? And it's probably still somewhat of a factor. Is what robot do you use? What sensors do you use? What is your facility design like to accommodate that? So those are all going to be factors. Probably, like I said, I think it's just the advancement in technology and then cost being the two main reasons why it hasn't happened yet. But those are coming together now, I think. So
just to go a little further into that, in today's world, what is the benefit of implementing innovative technologies, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's to get a competitive advantage in the market. Us as farmers, we have to be, we have to be a low cost producer, essentially. We're in a very, very highly competitive market and supply chain. And so, essentially it's the survival of the fittest. And if we're not the most efficient producer, then that's going to affect our bottom line. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is trying to affect the bottom line, and just be the most efficient and productive producer that you can be. So
well said. So why do you think the dairy industry is important? And as a farmer yourself, what do you want people outside of the industry to know about your guys' efforts as farmers?
Yeah, I mean, well, the dairy industry is just very, very unique in a lot of ways. I mean, you have, you know, eight essential nutrients and minerals that are essential, that are in milk, that are just not as common in other foods, and they're just all in one place. So it's essentially a superfood. And you know, I think a lot of people don't always realize that it has like everything you need, right? And it's in forms that are available to you. I mean, you know, the minerals, the vitamins and minerals that are in milk are already in a chelated organic form where it's readily available for your body. It's not like, I mean, sure, yeah, there's iron in dirt, there's, you know, there's zinc, you know, in the soil and probably in plants as well, but, you know, it's not in a form that's available to the body. And that's one of the things that, you know, dairy products really offer to people is, you know, if you're not going to take a multivitamin every day, and it even has, like I said, benefits over even just a multivitamin, being that, I mean, it's already in an available form for the body. It's already in an organic form. It's ready for absorption. Your body doesn't have to expend energy to convert it into a chelated form. And I think a lot of people kind of miss that, you know, especially when you look into plant-based diets and things like that, where you're like, oh, well, yeah, it has protein in it, but protein isn't just protein. Protein is derived of 17 different essential amino acids. And so, I mean, what that amino acid structure is of milk versus what the protein structure is in say, for example, in broccoli. I mean, it's not apples for apples. I mean, you have, you know, lysine, methionine that are kind of lacking in some of these other ingredients and stuff. So, you know, you can just go down the list on that from a nutrition standpoint. I think it offers a lot of benefits from a nutrition standpoint, but I think it also offers a lot of nutrition, a lot of bang for your buck. It's very, very dense nutrient source for the dollar. So that's probably from a food standpoint. I think that's why it's very imperative for global and national nutrition standpoint. It just offers a lot in a small package. So it a little bit goes a long ways. And then also, you know, we another thing that I think a lot of people don't really realize too, as far as, you know, the sustainability story goes, you know, we're really recycling a lot of our feed. A lot of this forage is grown locally. It's produced, you know, using the manure from the animals. It's actually a complete cycle, you know, and so we're able actually to close that loop. It's not like your car where you're just mining fuel and pouring it into your car and burning it up in the atmosphere. I mean, you know, they're using the nutrients from the soil and they're putting them back in the soil. It's a complete cycle. And then we use so many other byproducts from so many other industries that I think that other people are aware of. They just think that, oh yeah, these animals are eating all this feed. We should just be using that food that is getting fed to the animals and just consume it ourselves. And that's just not accurate. There's just so many soils and different climates that are not suitable for growing lettuce, for example, or broccoli, for an example. And then the time of year that you can grow those things, you know, you're not going to have a year-long food supply. A cow provides a 365-day a year food supply. And, you know, that's just not like any other crop. You're not waiting for a harvest. I mean, you can't just wait 45 days after you plant the seed to go eat. I mean, you got to eat every day. So a lot of people don't realize that how we kind of close that loop and how we kind of fill that void in the food chain, that, you know, it is actually an essential part of the food chain. You know, even organic crops, organic carrots, some of these other things are actually a lot of times grown with compost, grown with an animal fertilizer or whatever. You know, we're not using near the amount of chemical fertilizers that traditional agriculture kind of once did. So, and still does in some sectors. So yeah, we're just very unique in that way. So
could you list a few byproducts that you're feeding now that maybe people are not aware of?
Yeah. So I mean, I think you know, everybody likes bread and tortillas and stuff. So a byproduct of the milling industry is something called mill run. So you have basically two lines that come out of a flour mill. You got wheat seed that goes in and it goes through a mill, and you got flour that comes out one side, and you have mill run that comes out the other side, which is just kind of the husks and the part that's not used in the flour. So just your bigger pieces and the parts of the plant that are unusable to a human being, but they're very nutritious for an animal. So that's one that's produced here locally that, you know, that we're using all the time. Another big one would be almond hulls. You know, the nut industry is very large in California. So all throughout the West, there's quite a few almond hulls that are, you know, that are being fed. And then also even brewers grain. I mean, there's breweries, you know, strategically placed all throughout the country to give people fresh beer, you know, from the different big mega brewers, and also great feed. You know, it's comprised of mostly barley and hops, and you know, that also makes great feed. It's also produced locally, typically, so it's locally available. And then you know, bakery as well is another one. Breads that are thrown out of you know, large restaurant chains, and just bakeries that have excess product that just doesn't make it to market on time. It's not salable, but it's good for a cow. And then, I mean, just most of the feeds we feed are byproducts. The only two that we don't feed that are not byproducts are pretty much alfalfa hay and corn silage and corn itself. I mean, pretty much every other component of the ration essentially is a byproduct from some other industry, from some part of the nation. So I mean, there's canola meal, soybean meal, all those are also byproducts. So
essentially a lot less stuff going into the landfill for sure.
Absolutely.
Hey, and then, is there anything else that you would like to talk about or bring up that we haven't covered?
Nothing standing out in particular, but I mean, I would definitely say, I mean, the labor challenges here with, you know, now there's national talk of a $15 minimum wage. I mean, I think that just adds more to this conversation with automation. So there's just a lot of things going on politically currently that I think, you know, are just going to continue to advance and spur more investment into automation and robotics. So, I mean, the political climate is definitely ripe for these types of technologies to advance, both from an economic standpoint and just a geopolitical standpoint, based on where labor is and what's going on currently politically with wages and overtime rules, and you know, and even COVID, right? I mean, COVID's, you know, been an issue. I mean, you know, a machine's not necessarily going to get COVID, so that's a good thing to know that it'll be there. You know, so that gives us a little more redundancy, you know, in case somebody would get ill. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, Mike, thank you so much again for joining us today and sharing your experience as a dairy farmer, as well as supporting us on our mission to improve the lives of dairy cows and farmers themselves. So thank you so much.
Sure, thank you, Mike. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.